Hello, my name is Ashley Noble, reporting for PTV News. Today's topic is students of today's technology age and how they get their news. According to Telling the Story, the 5th edition by the Missouri Group, the late scholar James Carey described journalism as a society's conversation with itself. For a long time, that conversation was one-sided, with professional journalists determining the day's news and delivering it to the public. Today, the public has a voice. The conversation has new participants, new technology, and even new language. News spreads via cell phones and iPads, as well as through television and newspapers. Non-journalists engage in citizen journalism by joining professionals in blogging, tweeting, and posting news on Facebook. Each technological advance has added a new layer of complexity and a new set of players. Those new players include aggregators such as Google that collect, reorganize, and often link to work originally done by others, sometimes without full credit and usually without being paid. The new players also include Facebook, a social media network that allows participants to exchange news, commentary, gossip, and personal information without the involvement of professional journalists. When researchers ask where citizens get their information about local government, taxes, school, jobs, the answer is likely the traditional choice, the newspaper. For news about the weather, traffic, and unfolding events, the leading source is usually television. These findings come from a few research centers, such as Pew Research Center's survey. That same survey showed that internet sources are more important for people under 40, with nearly half of all adults reporting that they use mobile devices to check the news on traditional and non-traditional sites. Nearly 1 in 5 said they also get news from social media sites such as Facebook and Twitter. The oldest form of communication hasn't disappeared. More than half of those surveyed said they get their news by word of mouth from people they know at least once a week. Did you hear? Journalism has become a public conversation. So what does this mean for the next generation of adults? Students who are in college now, how do they get their news? I decided to find out. At Long Island University post-campus, I decided to talk to students about the news, how they get it, and what they pay attention to. I ran my own survey on 100 people between the ages of 17 and 65 to find out what people consider as news and what sources they use to get it. I also interviewed 4 LIU professors to talk to them to find out their take on students of today and the news.
No, I do not.
No, but I probably should because I'd be a lot smarter.
No, I don't, because I feel that it mostly focuses on the depressing part of the world, and they don't really focus on the good news. And if they focus on both parts equally, then I think I would focus more on the news now.
Because I'm a journalism major, I feel that I read the New York Times because it's been part of like my curricular so much. Like I've had to read it for class so much, and that's like one of the main ways that I get my news, along with my celebrity news, of course.
I like using the internet and going on websites because I always have my laptop or my phone with me, so it's easier than watching the TV or whatever.
I don't watch the regular news. The only news I only watch is sports news because it entertains me a lot more than regular news.
Well, I haven't been able to watch the news a lot lately because I've been busy with school. Excuse me. So, yeah, I try and keep up to date as much as possible online. Still not getting much because I've just been so busy, so, yeah.
I watch the weather. The regular news, I don't really watch. It's kind of depressing. I watched while Sandy was going on.
Aside from the hurricane, the last story that stuck out in my mind was actually a couple that was arguing in regards to the new show called The Walking Dead, and the guy stabbed his girlfriend, or shot his girlfriend in the back, excuse me. That's what stuck out to me the most and what I remember.
Korea sent off a missile that can reach continents, and I think that's a little something we should worry about.
I think there's more of an interest in soft news, entertainment, softer stories than hard news and what's happening in the world. I think that students are more interested in what's happening in their local community and what's happening with celebrities than world events.
Again, depending on the student, but pretty narrowly, I think that students are much more focused on the news that affects them pretty directly in one sense, and then on the other sense they're interested in news that has to do with cultural things, popular cultural things, movies, TV shows, celebrities, concerts, music, that kind of thing. Not so much international news or political news, except around the election. I think there was a lot of interest, but not in general. That students get hard news if they think they need it for some other reason, for a class, for an interview, to impress their boyfriend's mother, you know. But it's not, I want to know this, that I find this important. It's, I need to know for some extrinsic reason. But I think as I find more students who are seniors near graduating that suddenly they're more interested in reading the Times or looking at the, you know, public broadcasting news or CNN or following the election more seriously, that they start to realize that the real world is bigger than celebrity news. But for younger students, no.
Traditional news, politics, what's going on globally, what's going on in the election cycles, what's going on in our local government, crime, any of those things. I think students consider those news, but that's not necessarily the news they seek out. I think they are more interested in entertainment, who is married, who's dating who, what movie or CD is coming out.
Technology has changed incredibly the landscape of news, how we get news, how we perceive news, what news is. If you look back historically from newspapers to radio to television to several channels to cable channels and then to the internet.
I actually get most of my worldly occurrences news through internet, either on my phone or on the computer. I find that a lot faster and easier than watching it on TV.
But I do get all the updated news, and a lot of it is online that I look.
I usually get it from friends, family, and sometimes Facebook.
When I'm able to watch the news, I like watching it on TV, but I really use the internet a lot, AOL.com all the time. It's my homepage, so that's where I usually get my information. Yeah.
The majority of my news either comes from, I have a New York Times app on my phone, so I'll either use it for that or Facebook, you know, one or the other is my news.
The internet is not filtered, and I think that students can't really differentiate between legitimate news sites and opinion sites and sites that may not be accurate.
Because the internet is how news is received, the internet uses a kind of simple speak in which text and information is short, and the writing skills that once existed and was necessary for newspapers and magazines has changed, and words have changed, and meanings have changed, and colloquial and jargon has been incorporated into news in a way that it was never before.
And so, you know, myths and inaccuracies are perpetuated because nobody else is doing the story. or fact-checking the story, or taking a different perspective of the story. And that's, I think, a problem.
It allows you to filter and direct and feed yourself only what you want. So in a way that's good. People are busy, and I think students feel very busy, and there's too much information, so let me just focus on what I really care about. And digital media make it very easy to do that. But at the same time, there might be something really important going on that just isn't getting through into your little bubble. So it's a little bit dangerous.
Something that's topical, relevant, prominent, may or may not affect my life, but affects other people in the world.
Anything that is going to engage people. The classic definition of news is it timely? Does it have to do with something in your locality? Does it have some sort of sense of magnitude or conflict? Is it unusual? Does it have some sort of human interest element? Something that's going to engage people, inform them, give them important information is news.
But news is news when it's fully reported and when it's accurate and fair and both sides are reported and it's not biased. So it doesn't really matter what form you put it out through. If you put it out through Twitter, that's great. Or if you put it in the Wall Street Journal, that's great. As long as the basis of the reporting is fair and accurate.
I think one thing obviously is for students here we have the Free New York Times. I think that if students would pick it up, they would find things that are interesting. I think the Times has become much more diverse than it used to be, and students aren't aware that the Times is kind of noticing that young people weren't reading it and they had to change. So I think there are things in there that really anybody who's going out into the world should really be doing that.
On college campuses, more students pick up the print version of college newspapers than read the college newspaper online, because students are reading so much else online that they don't turn to their college newspaper online. So surveys that have been done show that students want the print version of their college newspaper. So there still is a place for print media in certain circumstances, like a college newspaper.
Journalism is journalism. What is news, what is important for people to know, is the same whether you're telling it online, broadcast, or print. I think what we need is people to tell fair, accurate stories, but we also need people to read them. And it doesn't matter what platform it comes from. I think the print medium may, become something else. It may transform. I mean, if you look at all the legacy media, they are now telling stories not only in their print medium, they all have either a companion website. Some of the print mediums, like the Wall Street Journal, are dabbling in broadcast venues, doing television things online. So I think the way we tell stories is transforming, but journalism still stays consistent.
With regard to how students and young people today look for news, receive news, I think many look to Jon Stewart and other figures who are quite bright and brilliant, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that as long as they have multiple sources. Many others look to the internet, they look to the homepage of Yahoo or other sites and believe that whatever the number one popular story is, that is what is news. They generally don't look beyond the obvious, and they don't necessarily question what they're reading. So I think this can be a problem for future generations. And I think that the way we understand news and receive news and what news is will change. It will be something like clay that will be molded and not something that's completely absolute. And those that teach news will have to change with the times as well.
I think there should be a real push to engage students with issues of importance around the world, such as environmental issues and political issues and social issues. I think that students are drawn toward the entertainment and softer issues, and there has to be more of an education to show students how important it is to be engaged in larger news issues.
I think absolutely that everything is moving entirely to mobile. So they're going to get all their information from their phone and their iPad and not even a laptop anymore. That would be the third thing. But whatever isn't coming to you in your phone or your iPad, whatever you're using, you're not going to get.
I think there's a lot of questions you need to ask. To be media literate in this world, you can't just take something at face value. But we do have all the tools that we need to find alternative information. I think the problem that we have now is not enough people are actually creating content. What they do is they take a story that somebody researches and then they appropriate it, put it in their own words, and it becomes aggregation.
Like Google News is just an aggregator. It's crawling around getting other people's stories. But that you want to go to a place that has its own reporters. So CNN or PBS or any, the networks, MSNBC. And the other thing is that they have to be careful about bias. So you don't want to just get all your news from Fox or all your news from MSNBC because they have a really political bias. And if you're not aware of that, you can't really make a judgment about what they're doing.
The fundamentals of journalism are evolving as technology speeds up the communication process, providing new sources for both reporters and audiences of all ages, and reshaping journalism from a one-way flow of information to a give and take with audiences and competitors. One element that has not changed, however, is the importance of accuracy and fairness. Students of today will hopefully evolve into people who will be generally interested in all news and will want to be well-rounded individuals that do not take for granted the presence of information. Thank you. My name is Ashley Noble. Have a good evening. today will hopefully evolve into people who will generally, okay, who will be generally interested. Yeah, please, I'm sorry. See why I can't do a live show? I don't know how the reporters do it. Yeah, practice. So like, good luck. Okay. Okay. The fundamentals of journalism are evolving as technology speeds up the communication process, providing new sources for both reporters and what's going on? Okay. All right. Okay.